huge tornado.
Debris everywhere as severe storms slammed the Midwest. More than a dozen tornadoes reported yesterday in Illinois and Wisconsin. And the threat for more severe storms continues again today.
A new video just in of the Weather Channel of more of that debris. The tornado was kicking up, as you can see here, getting lofted into the air. This is in Sycamore, Illinois. It's about 70 miles to the west of Chicago. That tornado responsible for causing some structural damage. Thankfully, no injuries.
And right now, hurricane coverage you can trust as we look at potential tropical cyclone 6, the forecast for it, where it eventually could end up going. And a lot of Florida, almost all of it, is in play here. So the chance that this could eventually be working into the United States, it looks like something that will happen. However, what it is when it gets there is still a big question mark. And new video right now coming into the Weather Channel showing some of the rain and the wind from that system heading into St. Thomas, United States Virgin Islands there, seeing the weather go downhill. So rain and wind happening right now. Again, could have Tropical Storm Fred by tonight, or tomorrow morning, or maybe later. There's still a lot to get to with this, Jackie.
Yeah, and folks in parts of Florida need to be on alert. Miami, you look absolutely fantastic right now. A little hot, 91 degrees. How about that? Yeah, that's pretty warm. But a tropical storm force winds could be pushing in as we head towards the weekend. Miami Square in the cone. Let's get the latest on PT6, or what could soon be Fred, with our storm specialist Mark Elliott. Mark.
Hey, Jackie. Hey, Chris. Yeah, watching this try to get more and more organized over the past, say, hour or so, it may be trying to close off that circulation. That's all that's missing to get to officially depression, or really Tropical Storm Fred status at this point. And why I'm saying that we're seeing a little bit more organization now is because of this little circle that you see continues to expand. That is the true core of this open wave at this point, but it's trying to work its way down towards the surface. We already have a mid-level circulation there. It's just whether we can get it down to the surface sooner rather than later. Because this is right on the doorstep of the islands, we needed the warnings earlier today, and that's why this was determined to be the potential tropical cyclone. And so these could be issued. Tropical storm watches and warnings continue in those islands of the Northern Caribbean and even into the southeast Bahamas. Down the road from there, after going through the big terrain of the Dominican Republic and right up against some of the big terrain of East Cuba, conditions get favorable again for more organization. Whatever swirl is left coming out of there will have more than enough time to reorganize. Remember what Elsa did just about a month ago at this point. That track came on the south side of the Dominican Republic, south side of Cuba, and then right up along the line that this one is. So there are some similarities, always some differences, but also some similarities. In that there was land interaction, and then there was more than enough time to recover at times there in the Eastern Gulf. Got hurricane status twice along that history of Elsa. So the hurricane modeling has been being run, and we're getting some new information out, and specifically the tropical version of the USGFS, and that is a big switch. I'm going to color it in red for you. Here comes the USGFS, now north of Cuba, staying off of Cuba and coming directly into South Florida. That's a big switch from where we were earlier today, from the earlier run of the USGFS, which had more land interaction with Cuba, a bend over the Cuban island, and then into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. This track has shifted north and east from its earlier track, and that brings more of the rain impact into Florida, but it might take some of the winds off the table because there's much less time without land interaction before getting into South Florida. In that case, rain would be the biggest threat for South Florida. Not to say that it's the only threat. We also look at the ensemble members. This is, again, the operational run of the USGFS. Here's all the different versions of that same run. And now look how spread this is from the eastern side of the Florida Peninsula and also well into the Gulf, maybe even south of Cuba. A lot of uncertainty in that way, but there's a clustering here. You could say the most likely is kind of something like this. So, you know, not completely off the table to go east of Florida, but is directly into South Florida the most likely scenario? If you look at the ensembles and all those different versions, maybe not. Maybe staying just off the coast and over the Keys, far more lines there is what I'm getting at. And so, again, there's a lot to look at when you're trying to make a tropical forecast 4 to 4.5 days away, when we know that the average error starts to approach 200 miles by that point. So if somebody is telling you that they know exactly where that center is going to be by then, they're lying to you. Nobody knows exactly where that's going to be. The impacts will get clear first, then the center will become clear as we get closer. To help with that will be the hurricane hunters. We're going to be in the storm more and more frequently now that this thing is starting to get organized. Another takeoff basically as Weather Center Live is ending, and then a couple more rounds tonight into tomorrow. Guys, there will eventually be hourly updates and fixes on this as we get a real organized tropical system moving through the Caribbean and closer to the U.S.
Absolutely. So more data means more information and a better forecast down the line, because right now, honestly, we can't say exactly what's going to be happening in Florida. We can talk about the risks and what we're expecting, what's most likely to happen, and maybe a couple of things that we can rule out. The biggest concern, I think, the thing that we can really kind of hang our hat on is that we do think there's going to be a big surge of moisture across the region. How significant that is going to be, still TBD, but heavy rainfall looks inescapable despite of the track as of this time. So here's a look at the cone, and let's talk about the timing of some of these impacts too, because this is going to arrive before the week is out. We're talking about late Friday into Friday night. We could start feeling some of these squalls and some gusty winds move into the Florida Keys and the southern tip of Florida as it moves through the straits. And by Saturday morning, we're expecting it to be somewhere within that line. So it's still a question if it's going to be somewhere over here by that line, if it's going to be somewhere over here by this line, or maybe kind of split the difference in the middle. And that could have a big bearing on how much rain makes it over land, because right now the Euro is bringing the worst of it over the water or very near the western coast, with anywhere between 1 and 3 inches across much of the peninsula. But the GFS had a big shift in our last model run today, and that is bringing torrential downpours on the Atlantic side, especially where we could have as much as a half of a foot or more of rainfall. Another thing we know is that it's getting steered right now by an area of high pressure. It's the Bermuda high. It's the persistent high in the Atlantic this time of the year, which brings it in that westerly direction. And we also predict that a kink or a dip in the jet stream will gradually start to draw this up towards the north. The wild card in all of this, or the question that we still have, is at what time are we going to start to see that northerly pull? And that could have a big impact if it pulls north over the peninsula in this area, or keeps it over the Gulf of Mexico, which could ultimately end up being a stronger storm for the U.S. Chris?
Another, of course, big story we're tracking right now is the severe weather threat and the possibility for some storm damage in Illinois. And that's where possible tornadoes tore through the northern part of the state yesterday. I want to show you some of the video here from the air and get a sense of just how big and massive and, frankly, scary some of these storms were. As we look off into the distance, it's hard to see if it's hard to tell exactly if it's, far away and big, or close up and still big but not as big. Drone footage from Sycamore, roughly 70 miles west of Chicago. You get an idea of just how massive some of these storms were as they were tearing through the area. And look at that. You can see the circulation on the ground and all the debris being flung up. And just looks like it's driving into the ground as it's digging up a lot of debris and tossing it up into the sky. And this, another view here in Illinois with the funnel on the horizon, and a closer inspection, a closer look shows some of that debris going way up into the sky. And then you see some of the damage afterward. And when you look at this, it's easy to understand why some residents said the evening and night made for some scary moments.
We were all looking up, and there's just like this huge triangle coming down, and everything was just still. And what freaked us all out was we started like actually seeing like it forming, and we heard like a humming sound.
I was shocked. Like, I never thought that a tornado would like come hit us, and then that was like how bad it hit. Like, I didn't know. All like the trees over there are like uprooted.
And we did see quite a few storms across parts of the Midwest, the Plains, and even the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic over the past 24 hours, doing some damage like this. I want to show you the local storm reports over the past 24 hours as we still look at some of the video. All different types of reports, whether it is wind damage, heavy rain, flooding, or, as the case may be here, tornado reports. Now the radar from yesterday afternoon into the evening and nighttime hours, and a lot of the action, a lot of what we saw with the thunderstorms, a lot of these storms were spinning, and a lot of tornado reports going through and just east of Rockford, and then north of Interstate 80, and just outside of Chicago on the north of Aurora as well. So a lot of reports, a lot of video showing tornadoes across the area, and unfortunately today, another day, second day here in a row that we could have some of the stronger storms, at least in the likely category, in northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and eastern Iowa. It's possible there could be storms really from the panhandle of Oklahoma to upstate New York, Jackie.
Yeah, we've got a lot of action out there already at this hour right now, Chris. We've got multiple warnings that are in effect, and we're really watching storms to produce damaging winds today more than anything else. So let's get right to the radar and show you the areas that we're talking about. It's really two different disturbances. The first one affecting you here into the east, the second one affecting parts of the Midwest and into the Plain states. We'll take you into Pennsylvania, where we've got a